time?
About 10:30.
Oh, I think
Okay,
we're
yeah,
on.
we're on.
They had it all detoured. You could get up like as far as almost to Spofford, just past that. You had to go all the way around. They must have had
We're
every
on.
police car in the town.
Hi. Good evening. Welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. It's December 2nd, and it's 7:08. And I'm going to read the rules of procedure. The Board of Appeals will conduct this meeting according to rules laid out in Chapter 40A of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Robert's Rules of Order, and its own particular set of rules entitled Rules of Procedure, a copy of which is on file with the town clerk. Another copy is available from the clerk at this meeting. This meeting is being taped, recorded for the purpose of taking minutes. Once the minutes are approved, the tape may be taped over. So the first thing on our agenda, we're going to do the Affordable Housing Task Force. You guys want to take over?
Right,
Oh, I didn't introduce everybody. I'm sorry. I'm the chairman, Gina Tebow, Sharon Freeman, Paul Schillen, Jeff Moore, and Patty Patari is our clerk.
I'm Sean McGee, chairman.
Matthew Martin.
Frank Popolo?
And as chairman, I'd like to really have Frank take control of the meeting. I think he's got more input onto the proposal than either one of us, but we're here for any questions, and I know we got answered a bunch of your questions through the report that you have there. Frank, you want to take it?
No, I mean, thank you. We sent along, obviously, the revised bylaw based on our last meeting. You expressed a wish that we create an entirely new bylaw, but one that's based on the existing one, which is pretty much verbatim what is in the existing one, except for the criteria for approval. And so I think that, if you had a chance to read that or not. And then, as Sean mentioned, Jeff sent over some questions, and we endeavored to answer those questions, and I don't know if you have any other questions from the board. We'd be happy to answer those. We're trying to keep it, obviously, as simple as possible. We feel long, complicated, drawn-out bylaws just create ambiguities and problems and issues, and people spend more time wordsmithing and trying to turn things than they do making decisions. So this was, we felt, was the simplest, cleanest, best route to go. And what we're proposing wouldn't be structurally different than what's already on the books with the accessory bylaw that's there now. It would just be that the criteria would be a little bit different, and that the unit would be rentable to somebody other than a family member who meets certain requirements, and that the unit be accepted for acceptance, or be accepted for the inclusion on the subsidized housing inventory.
Well, why don't I start, since I had
Yeah.
one of the most comments, and what I was looking at in the comments that I made back was primarily structurally, as far as how does this actually fit into the bylaw, because I'm looking at it from a permit granting authority standpoint. Someone's gonna come to us, where do we turn, where do we look, and how is this gonna flow? Are all the definitions in place that need to be, and if we're gonna issue a special permit, I had some questions about potential conditions, whether those would be legal or would work with the HCD, I guess, because we're not as familiar with their guidelines, obviously, as you folks are. So let me just start with the initial, because this is what I think we were sent, or similar to it, as a bylaw.
That's
So
what we've come up with.
my question, and this might be for Howard as well, so this would be section 165, 69.2 or something like, that's the idea, is it's gonna be a section of this bylaw, which I guess.
Miscellaneous article.
Okay, so it's gonna have a title. In other words, when this goes to theoretically a town meeting on a warrant article, it's gonna say something like, request to add the following language to section, 165 as follows, right? And it's
Right.
gonna be, I don't know what number it's gonna be, but it's gonna
It
have.
would be under Article 12, miscellaneous provisions. No, I'm sorry. Article 11, supplementary.
Supplementary regulations.
Regulations.
So it's gonna be something like 165, It can't be I put 70, well, 70 is the next.
69.
Yeah.
It doesn't
That
fit.
we-
That didn't make sense, but
Yeah.
165, 69.2 or something.
Right, yeah, we don't
I
have
think,
control over that, so.
Right, who does that? Is that you?
Yeah.
So when it goes to
how it
planning,
gets-
all those,
How it gets woven into the bylaw, we'll take care of that.
okay, so a lot of my questions, that's well put. A lot of my questions were relating to how does this get tied into the bylaw
Yeah.
that we look
existing.
at when we have a hearing? I mean, the whole thing comes together, definitions.
And I think, Howard, you addressed that in an email previously,
Yeah, there's an
that some of the other
email.
bylaws might have to switch numbering just a little bit
Well,
in order to accommodate
To make it
it.
easy,
Yeah.
it'd be 69.2, but to be the most logical, we'd want it to be 69.1, and then we'd have to rename public tree replacement to 69.2, so.
I mean, I don't really care. I was just wanted to make sure that it's gonna,
That's what-
how is this really
It's
gonna read by the
defined,
time it
right?
hits this? Cause this is what we're gonna live with, not, conceptually. And then, so it's gonna be under supplementary regulations and, yeah, and I was confusing creating some new bylaw with really just adding a section to this one when we're everybody's on the same page on that. And the title will be called like Affordable Accessory Apartment Bylaw or something like that. I mean, it's.
Yeah, I believe that's what the task force has named it now.
Yeah.
It's a proposal, I mean, if there's a particular name that somebody has a preference to, frankly, it just describes exactly what we're trying to do.
Right, my only point in asking that was that there shouldn't be any confusion with accessory apartments, that's all, because it's two different special permits and two
Right.
different uses. One is rental,
Right,
can be
one is,
rented.
they're both accessory apartments, one is an affordable. That may be where there is a little bit of a rub, because this would be an accessory apartment as well. It's an accessory use.
Well, they're not getting a special permit for an accessory apartment, they're getting a special permit specifically for,
I think-
and they can't change that use without coming back to us.
I think in an ideal world, we labeled the first one a family accessory and this one an affordable accessory. I think that would be,
But if we reference the correct number and the correct title, that should be clear, right? I mean, if we say this is a special permit for whatever it is, 165-69 point, whatever you just said, 2, affordable accessory apartment, I think that should be sufficiently clear.
Well,
that
I'm
we're not
just more
talking about an
concerned about with
accessory.
the actual use, we're giving a special permit for a use. What is the use? If it's accessory,
well, it's an affordable accessory.
It's affordable
That's the
accessory.
title.
That's one
So I
thing.
think
Affordable
in the-
accessory.
in
So
the-
would it be
which is
more
not the same
clear?
as an accessory.
Would it be
It's
more
gonna
clear to
different.
be an affordable housing accessory apartment? And I'm only,
To get a little bit more clarification, so it's.
so it's
'cause
affordable housing, so that kind of leads you in that direction rather than just an affordable
I see
accessory?
where you're going too, because just
an
affordable accessory, it just sounds so, it
I
almost
mean-
blends into it.
Theoretically, a family accessory is an affordable accessory as
Yeah.
well. You know what I mean? Because that's why they usually move in. I'm
Yeah.
just,
No,
maybe
it-
because it makes it sound more,
Differentiates it a lot more. by
I
just-
understand the concern, and I think that addresses it, affordable housing accessory, yeah.
that,
So this
Does
is
that work
not
for
a
you?
separate
I-
bylaw?
Yeah, anything works, as long as it's not called accessory apartment. And it gets to what you guys are gonna do, which is you gotta create a definition in here
So it's not a
for
separate,
this particular kind of use.
Well, it'd be
It's
great.
It's gotta be in the table of
What?
schedules.
that was gonna be a separate bylaw.
Yes.
It is?
It
Yes.
yeah,
It is, okay.
So it's a
You-
different kind
I
of, you see where I'm getting, Howard? In other words,
I do. And
this is
it-
gonna be added in the table of
It
uses
will be
in
under
the
the
back.
table, the use regulation schedule,
Right,
and
As a
it'd
new
be great
type
in
of
this
use.
meeting, if you just confirm if it's gonna be similar to the accessory apartment. And if you start talking about a definition, it'd be great to be able to get that worked out now, so when it goes to the planning board, it doesn't create something that needs to come back from the zoning board for you to come to.
yeah, so I don't know, is accessory apartment
Accessory
defined?
apartment is, and
It is defined, right?
It
I mean,
just-
no, it's a use in the back.
it's not defined.
Well, that's what I was
It is in the
wondering.
use regulation schedule.
It may not need to be, because if, it's essentially defined in this section.
It's
as
an
a creator.
accessory use, so it's a use that's accessory to the primary
Right.
use. So there's an accessory uses are defined in the zoning bylaw. So this would be an accessory use.
That's right, I get,
Okay,
you're right,
And then,
you're
and
right.
then, you could certainly put it in, you could put a definition if you like, if that makes it clearer for people. I would definitely suggest that you do put it into the schedule of uses,
No,
so that everybody's clear,
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it is under residential use accessory
Mhm.
apartments, in this case, whatever you're
Right.
gonna call this use.
yeah.
not that, whatever
Yeah, it's,
somebody
well,
wants
it's,
to call it.
yeah, it's an accessory use, so it would fall under the accessory use definition, and then we could call it whatever affordable housing, affordable accessory, it doesn't matter.
This would be under the residential use section, Howard, I think.
Yes,
And it would, I assume it would follow the same
that was my expectation too, but
designation for the different.
The zoning board, I'm sure, would make final determination on that.
I think planning would probably, whether it's allowed in RA or, that's as far as what's allowed in those
Yeah.
particular districts.
From the
By
planning
special.
office standpoint, I'd say it would fall what the accessory apartment.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me.
Special permit granting authority just for residential.
Yeah, I think it requires a special permit in the residential uses, but it's not allowed in the industrial or commercial uses,
Right.
if I'm not mistaken.
Another suggestion, just looking at it, where you input housing into it, you could also call it an affordable accessory housing without even using apartment to, taking either something out, cause apartment or housing, or some type of, a residential accessory. Affordable accessory housing. Maybe just something that differentiates it from the accessory apartment.
That sounds good.
You like that?
I don't- Whatever
It's a
you guys wanna call it, it's,
Yeah, I think if you take one of the words out, it really, it's not gonna be the same.
I don't think it'll get us confused.
So affordable housing,
Affordable accessory housing. I don't know.
I think that's fine.
Anything.
Either one, I think is fine, just as long as it doesn't confuse.
what did I suggest? Pretty close to that.
I think you said affordable accessory.
I don't know, I would just make something up and. it really
Yeah,
makes-
exactly.
It's affordable.
Affordable accessory rental apartment, I think is what I call it.
Or, yeah, rental.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's,
whatever you guys wanna call it, honestly. My only
it
point
will
in
be
that
different,
question
it will
was
be
that.
different from the accessory.
Affordable rental
Yeah.
accessory housing. How's that?
Because when we issue a special permit, which this is gonna be, if the board issues a special permit, it's gonna be for that use. And that
And,
use is
well,
gonna
it'll be
fall.
granted under that bylaw.
It's very similar to
Yeah.
accessory in
So
many
you'll
ways.
you'll reference the new bylaw, the new section.
Exactly.
When you make your finding.
Right. I kind of forget, I know I should look at this today. Well, let me jump into this for a second. And then conditions. I just wanted to make sure that, and I guess this doesn't have to be hashed out tonight, but we need to be familiar enough with, is it DHCD guidelines that drives this thing?
Well, it's the DHCD regulatory agreement, yeah,
Okay, so
deed rider.
you gave us a copy, I think, of the,
Yep.
I think it
which I
might-
don't
Can't
really
we
wanna
do-
have to become an
Yeah, I was just gonna say, can't we
It's only
defer?
13 pages long.
I know,
I would like to
It's so-
defer that
The
to
good news, the last
say,
five
This.
pages, the last 5 pages of signatures.
we
so-
grant the use, but they have to go to somebody else to get,
Right, go ahead.
Well,
so the way I see this, and maybe I'm mistaken, but essentially what we would have is, well, what the board would have, it would be a conditional approval based on DHCD approval. So basically, you would have a line item that says,
Right.
go get DHCD approval, and they're gonna look at you and say, well, what does that mean? You're gonna point them back to the task force.
exactly.
So, for your purposes, it's really just gonna be a line on a form that, for them to check or not check. And then it becomes the burden on the homeowner to come to us or go to the DHCD and get that worked out. I'm
So
not
is
sure
that
actually-
something, and this might be the chicken and the egg, is that something they should do with you first, or should they get the permit with us first and then go to
If
you?
they come to you first, then,
Okay.
in order for the permit to be effective, they have to have that unit included on the subsidized housing inventory. So one of the steps to that is the regulatory agreement. That is not the only step. DHCD has to approve it. And the regulatory agreement is a model. It's not necessarily cast in concrete. The DHCD can work with the property owner to make it work for them as
Right.
well. So, but in order for this to be valid, it has to get onto the SHI. That's the payback to the town. That gives
Okay.
us 10 more units, protection against 10 more new units that are gonna come in.
But I
So
think
the
it should-
condition, I think we're
Yeah,
thinking the same
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
so every single one of our permits would have the condition that they have to get
I'm gonna talk about that.
approval from.
Well, you wouldn't have to condition,
DHCD.
it's in the bylaw.
I thought we couldn't condition well, you can't make a condition that defers to another.
It's not another
Entity.
board,
Okay.
right?
Right.
Is that right?
But I think they should come to you guys first, because there's other conditions in here that are quote-unquote easier to either to determine whether they meet or not.
Right.
And I'd hate to see them go through all the work with us and then come back to you guys and realize that they're exceeding 33% of the usage of their house, for example, or
Right.
something of that nature, so.
But there's other conditions. When we issue a special permit, we have to make a determination that the use or whatever this is not detrimental.
It's in
to the
keeping and all the other-
keeping with all that. And that can sometimes, you know, I don't know, I'm not gonna come up with scenarios, but I mean, it can sometimes require conditions that we may impose on that special permit in order for it not to be detrimental. In other words, we grant this with the following conditions, and if any one of those conditions would preclude that particular apartment from inclusion on the SHI, for example, because it doesn't meet DHCD regulations for some reason, then they would leave here with essentially an illegal, I don't know if it's illegal, but
Contrary.
something. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then they would you'd either end up striking that condition without us having any say. If technically, I guess that could go to the point where that condition is.
Yeah, I mean, let's
So we
take,
just need to understand.
take, for example,
you know.
an age restriction.
Yeah, like I just thrown
That,
some things
that
up.
would not be, that would be verboten with the HCD. They would not allow an age restriction.
Now,
We
why is
wouldn't- we
65 and
wouldn't-
over housing included, but not
think
in
we-
this case? I'm just.
It's,
It's
these,
discriminatory.
well, it's,
Well,
yeah, I mean, well, they,
have 65
under
and over
40B,
affordable housing
over
in
40B, you
Georgetown.
can do over 55.
Right.
Okay, if you're coming in for a comprehensive permit under 40B, you can do it. Under the LIT program, which this would be under, you can't. It's just one of the restrictions that DHCD has put into place. Quite honestly, they're not, this was sort of a give back to the towns to give them some control back in
Right.
this process. And they haven't really made it really a welcoming thing for the towns.
You
They've,
mentioned that they're making it difficult.
yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, there hasn't been one of these produced in the state yet. And there's not a lot of towns that have accepted this bylaw yet. A lot of them are moving towards it.
Has it
But-
been challenged?
Sorry?
Is that aspect of the condition been challenged?
Yeah,
at
it's
all?
what's,
As
it's,
far as like that particular restriction?
it's, well, that might be one of the issues, yeah. I mean, you know, basically what they've told us is that, they'll, you know, they're willing to move and give a little bit on the on the regulatory agreement.
Right.
But I think people take a look at this process and see that it's pretty daunting, especially from the DHCD side, and they just have stayed away from it. But then the other thing, you know, there's only probably 10 or 12 towns in the state right now that have adopted this. So it's still in its test phase. You know, as more and more towns get it and things start to happen, I think you'll start to see it becoming more and more popular and accepted.
I mean,
It's a new kind of a thing, you know.
I don't think we'd ever condition anything that would be,
Well,
Like,
I
I'm
mean,
just
age would
thinking
be
of
a
it-
logical one, only because.
but when have we have never conditioned age before. I
No,
think
it's
we
true-
couldn't.
it's true,
I
but
don't think we could.
The
I think
intent and
legally we
purpose of
can't
the-
with a
Of the
housing.
accessory apartment is, you know, for housing, you know, aging parents. And so a lot of these existing accessory apartments that are already in place were designed, intended for that
Mhm.
Well,
purpose.
for family,
And they are family, but generally it's mom and dad. But
Yeah.
you're right, it's not typical.
but it doesn't say aging parents, it says
Yeah,
family.
Mom and
member.
dad would be
So
under the.
we're like,
We,
because,
well, we could.
Well, see, that's
we could
another,
restrict
that's
it.
another restriction, is you can't put a family restriction
And
on.
related by
That the
blood.
DHCD
And it can't be a family member,
Right,
actually.
so that's would be another restriction you couldn't put on and get it on the SHI. So obviously, anything you condition shouldn't contradict with what's gonna get this onto the SHI, because that's required for this to become a valid permit.
so I just don't think, I can't think of a condition that we would add.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you
Well,
think
I
there's
don't know. What
something
else is
that's
there? I just
gray.
mentioned
I mean,
Berlin.
I know.
I'm not gonna-
But I don't think we would,
I haven't
but
read the
is
six
there,
Might shoot
pages.
myself in
if
my
there,
foot, so.
if you think there's
I don't know what else is
something
in there.
in that 13 pages that we
Yeah,
may condition, because
Mm-hmm.
we don't know what you know, then you should let us know that, just so, but I don't think.
yeah,
we're
we'd be
gonna
happy to sit
condition
down
No,
with
that's
you
why I
some
said we
other
don't
time
have
and
to
go
hash it
through the
out tonight, but
regulatory
yeah.
agreement. And
Right.
we might even be able to get somebody from DHC to come, because they're, you know, they're willing to come out and talk to boards, so.
Right. I think
Someone
we,
that's gonna have a come in to do this affordable accessory housing unit is gonna do their due diligence, and most likely was gonna contact one of us, either before they come in or simultaneously, and knowing that they've gotta come in here,
Right.
and then it's gotta go on the DHC,
Well, does,
Right.
Oh,
DHCD.
maybe, I mean,
So-
not to, sorry.
does the, how does a property owner even find out about this in the first place? And then they try to do it, then they get denied by the building inspector, then they come to us, then we send them back to you, and then they're all set. So one of our conditions, it's not even a condition, it would be nice if it was in our application that they've already gone to you, but now we know that they need to come to us and then go to you. But which,
Yeah, I mean, they're not, I mean, we would be an advisory to help them through the
Right.
process, because that would be instigating new affordable housing in town, so.
Would it be a separate application, or
This
is
is,
it the same
um,
application?
be on
this is the property owner, so it's not so much the tenant that would be uneducated to this, it's the property owner that, if they wanna do this, they're obviously gonna find out about
Same
it,
application.
do their due diligence, then
number.
do they get denied by the building inspector then at that point?
If they come to, they obviously have to go to the building inspector for an approval, like as it happens now. I have
For
an
construction
accessory,
permit.
I have an accessory apartment in my house. We went, got denied, and came to the zoning board. That's how I ended up on the zoning board.
Yeah.
And,
I think that's how everybody ends up.
they just tie you up and can't leave.
Me.
Fill it up.
But, yeah, I mean, yeah, they would go get denied and come here, so it'd be like anything else. I mean, we certainly we can put a news blast out to town. That's one of the things we do. We try to get stuff into the newspaper about
Oh, to
affordable housing.
let them know that this is
Yeah,
available
this
to
is
them.
available and this is an opportunity, like the rent subsidy program, we
Well, you
did
have-
something on that.
Mm-hmm.
And
So,
have
we definitely would publicize it, because we want
Yeah.
people to use it.
And then it would be John's job to, his denial letter would be a little more complicated in that the other little parts of the other restrictions from this SHI, the inventory, there's all kinds of stuff. Would John be mentioning
Well,
those things?
no,
in
it
his
would be
denial?
subject.
Besides the bylaw.
Everything's gonna be subject to approval by DCH.
So they go
right?
to,
So everything is
oh,
subject.
right, because it's already on the list.
Right, so we approve the use.
They have to get on the
only,
list, then they get denied, then they come to us. Okay.
And we approve
So they
the
will already
use,
know,
and then
so
they
it's
go
not
to
a
you
big
guys.
deal for them to go back and,
Yeah. And if they go to John with an apartment, they wanna do an in-law, or they wanna build an apartment on, he's gonna say, well, you have two choices.
Yep.
You can either bring an in-law in and do it this way. Its construction will be almost identical, except for the fact that I did talk to John about the building code, and there's a required 3/8 inch sheet rock, additional 3/8 sheet rock that has to be between the two units if it's a non-family member living on the other side.
did they
Still
talk about separate
Egress?
entryway and all
Yeah.
that stuff?
Curious
The
about
entrance,
that.
as long as there's two means of egress and it meets
Yeah.
building code.
They might do that, yeah.
I mean, I personally.
Again, it's
I
up
wouldn't
to the
do it, yeah,
homeowner.
you know.
Yeah, it's up to the homeowner.
All right.
They wanna deal with that, sure.
Yeah, that's their personal preference,
Okay,
so.
Howard,
Howard?
Howard wanted to.
No, I'm here to answer questions.
He said it is, we talked about it would be a separate application before,
Well,
It
why
will
would it be,
It'll be what,
because
once,
it's gotta list like DHCD, all that stuff.
okay, so
I
it
would
would,
presume, I mean,
No,
how far
no.
far be it for me to presume anything, but I would assume that there would be one application for a family member and one application for under the bylaw we're discussing now.
well, we only have one application for all special
You're talking
permit and
about a different
variance.
ZBA application?
I don't think you need to
Well, I
change your
think we need to
application.
clarify what,
Yeah.
it seems that everybody's considering application to be different.
I don't think
So-
the application's different though, because it's just a different bylaw that they're,
It's an application for a special permit.
yeah.
And what's the use? It's a.
And
it's
then-
a use like everything else.
And they gotta be
under
applying
this
for it
section
under
of the
this
bylaw.
particular section of the bylaw.
Pricing is the same, everything.
They
is
can
the
come
same.
read the bylaw and hopefully they'll understand it. And oftentimes, as you know, they'll bring a lawyer with them. There's a lot of times.
Patty is, I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think what Patty's getting at is there's maybe some additional review by you guys that is not typical of other applications here, and so they
Right.
need to be aware that they need to
Yeah, I mean, we'd be
get
helping
your
them.
sign off. I think what you were thinking is you'd send them basically to you guys first for help in
That's what we
preparing for our application.
Sure.
To give them the guidance, because you know exactly what they're gonna run into here. You're obviously very familiar with this bylaw since you wrote it, and whatever else may come down the road, guide them into their application process with us. And then they'd go officially back to you they don't need a hearing with you, they just need.
Yeah.
Well, there's no,
Come to one of
we
your
just try to
meetings.
help them with DHCD,
Right.
just
You'd
try
have to
to
approve
try to
their
grease the
final.
skids there for them.
I mean, that's true, because Patty's not gonna know all of this stuff either, so
Planning's
she's
not
gonna
need
give
to.
them the same application, but
They've
she's gonna
already-
say, I think maybe that's a requirement that we say, you need to go see don't come to us until you
Maybe that should
at
be
least
in-
talk to them.
Right.
You know what I
And
mean?
One of the great things about being on the task
Be in
force is
the
we have absolutely no authority whatsoever.
Well, I mean, I was gonna suggest, would they come, maybe, you know, they can bring an attorney, but maybe somebody from your task force
Sure, we
comes
can
to the
come
meeting
with
with
them,
them, because
absolutely.
we're sitting and say, the neighbors could come in, be concerned about all sorts of things. I don't know what's gonna come up. And
well, that's
mitigating
right.
circumstances. I mean,
Yeah.
our role is to look at this, and if there are some simple mitigating factors that can be applied to a particular application that would, we can condition it in a way to mitigate whatever that is. We may choose to do that, and you may say, well, you know what, there's an issue with, DHCD on that because it's gonna, whatever. I
Right.
think we've hit the two big ones, obviously age, but occupancy is something else. We don't necessarily
No, they
condition
don't.
existing
DHCD does
accessory
not,
apartments to
does not
occupancy.
govern the occupancy. I've talked with them about that. They don't govern occupancy whatsoever. They don't care how many people are there.
But there may be questions that come up from the audience though, too, with the butters,
Sure.
well, how many people could possibly be living in this thing?
Well,
I don't know, but you guys might.
Wouldn't septic,
I don't-
isn't it the same thing, like the septic would govern how many people
Probably.
can
That's
technically
bedrooms,
be
yeah.
there?
Yeah.
I think
You
the
know?
thing with the number of people, and Matt and I were talking about this today, that it's pretty much going to be governed by the fact that the owner is going to be on site. He's going to live next door. So he's not going to rent to people who are going to be abusing the apartment, or have too many people in the apartment. So I think
But
that
there's one distinct difference, is he has no choice in who actually rents. That's the
Yeah.
only
Right,
thing that
but,
concerns
well,
me in this situation.
Go ahead, the
I
attorney
agree
was.
with you on that.
Yeah, well, no, right,
So-
I mean,
so
maybe there's a different.
There's, the people that are on the lottery have to be qualified to be on the lottery, is the first piece of this. So if he, I believe, and somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but they can put down the number of people that they're willing to accept in that apartment, how many bedrooms it is, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
The second piece of this too is that all the rules of eviction still apply in this, regardless of anything else. So if they're rowdy or creating a situation that makes the home difficult to live in, or make them difficult neighbors, then they certainly have a right to evict this tenant in this situation.
Isn't it, is it gonna be hard to, it's an affordable housing eviction. I guess we're diving
There is-
into
there
things that
is,
we don't need to consider right now. It's
The,
not gonna be
landlord has to
my
give
house.
the tenant certain notice under the regulatory agreement, and I'm not sure how long that, I think it's 30 days, but don't quote me on, I'd have to look back at it again. But there is some methodology in the regulatory agreement that allows this process to be, ended by either party if
Okay.
things aren't working out. Obviously, because it's an affordable, that doesn't make a landlord obligated to keep somebody he's not happy with if there's a problem.
My experience over the years is dealing with people that are getting a deal on an apartment or an affordable type housing. They really take care of it to make sure that, they can
They can
stay.
stay, right.
Because, you create a situation where you're butting heads with the owner, or you have a chance of eviction, and then you're gonna go out, and you're not gonna find maybe an affordable housing, maybe, certainly
Right.
not in Georgetown, because there's so far and few between. So-
And the reality, in one way or another, is that chances are these apartments are currently rented anyway. So
Yeah.
legally or illegally, and so I don't think we're actually creating any additional apartments. I think that we're just probably bringing them out of the current operation of them. So,
Did you, just to touch on something, you said the owner can dictate obviously how many bedrooms they have, they can come and build a 1 or 2 bedroom. We could condition 750 square feet is, I've never seen an accessory apartment with more than 1 bedroom anyway, but, that doesn't particularly limit how many tenants they can accept, how does that work? Do you know?
so when they.
If you have 1 bedroom
Well, they
apartment for
can't,
rent.
if you have a one-bedroom apartment, and, the regulatory agreement in DHCD is not gonna tell them they can only have 1 or 2 people in that apartment. But obviously, the one bedroom would limit it to 2 people, and that's where you've got the size restrictions here. Obviously, the apartment's gonna be small. They're not, if you get an apartment that's 1,000 feet, that's an accessory apartment, that's humongous. And, that's basically a 2-bedroom apartment. A 1-bedroom would be closer to 700 feet.
Right.
So, if a family moves in and they've got 6 kids and they got 1 bedroom, obviously this isn't gonna be attractive to them. This isn't gonna wanna be a place that they're gonna wanna be. So I think the size limitation in of itself limits the chances that you're gonna run into a large family situation, you know, and.
Right. And the owner has the ability to dictate how many occupants he's interested in entertaining, or no?
I don't think so. I think
In other
the
words,
state-
I'm just
Yeah,
saying, let's say we put a condition in there that says this is a one-bedroom apartment, no more than 2 occupants, or something like that. The owner then would be saying, I only want 2. Somebody comes along, they have, you know, a husband and wife and a child or something.
Yep.
Can he say, or she say, I'm sorry, I know you're qualified. I'm not suggesting they would wanna do that, I'm just,
Certainly not in a position to give legal advice to the town, but I'm not confident that would be a permissible.
Yeah, I think the state does it all. I think all we
again,
are
I'm
gonna-
just saying, I don't wanna put conditions in something that are gonna
Right. I
kick
mean,
this thing out.
Well, there's
Defeats the purpose.
something in that first one that said 900 square feet. It said 700 and then 900, and that big, the first one you gave us in September.
Yeah, there's
the
there's a little bit of a rub on certain, and I forget exactly what it is. There's, the regulatory agreement on a 3-bedroom rubs into the size restrictions on ours a little bit, but I talked to DHCD about it, and they didn't think that would be a huge issue.
Hey, Jeff.
Oh, yeah, you took it's not in here anymore, the 900.
Yeah,
Okay.
I basically just went with what we got. I don't think that's gonna be a huge issue, because you're not gonna see many 3-bedroom accessory apartments.
Well, you also don't wanna have a case where it can't be converted to an accessory. I mean, you guys rather, I suppose,
Mhm.
not necessarily that, but I think from a town and ownership perspective, you would wanna have something that would qualify for an accessory if they were so choose to do that.
Mhm.
In other words, they've been renting for a few years, and maybe mom and dad are aging, they'd like them to
Yeah.
move in, they'd like to take it off the list. Can you do that, by the way, if you're renting? Is there limits on the rental? You're renting an affordable apartment, and geez, you know what, next year, I'd like to maybe have mom and dad move in. Can you say, okay,
You
1
can
year
terminate,
notice?
there's termination in here, the land, I was just reading it as you were talking, because I happened to come across it as this time we're looking for something else. But, voluntary termination, if the owner elects to discontinue leasing a lower moderate income unit to an eligible tenant for any reason, the owner shall notify the municipality, DHCD, and owner shall record with the registry a notice of cancellation. And it shall only take place after the expiration of the lease terms entered in between the owner and the tenant.
And then does that unit then do the people come back here? To say that, okay, now we're coming off the affordable housing accessory unit, and we're just looking for a
Yeah.
family member?
Yeah,
That
they'll have to come back
their
under the
special
other
permit
bylaw
would
for
then
approval there.
Be voided.
Yeah.
They'd come in to apply for a special permit for an accessory apartment, which is the
Right.
traditional accessory apartment. But getting back to the size issue, as long as everything matches, and all of a sudden, if they had a 900 square foot or something like that, then they wouldn't qualify because it's too big.
Mhm.
See what I mean? So they'd have to
Yeah.
either move
Right.
a wall or
Yeah, it's,
something.
Is that the regulatory?
I think the conditions that we're gonna end up dealing with are
yeah, I mean,
typical
that's
of
basically
anywhere.
what your
It's a
guiding
neighbor,
principles are.
it's a parking issue, it's a screen planting, or something like that. Is because
Oh,
it's just
I'm
like
sure
any
it would
other
be.
accessory apartment. That's the only thing it seems to me that we can control.
Right, you're not obligated to approve it. If there's an issue
Right.
that's standing out there with a neighbor that's gonna cause a problem, you can say no.
Yeah, the only thing that I'm not as familiar with is the whole concept of rental property versus, this is specifically not for rental, accessory apartment, which comes with, the accessory apartment bylaw is specifically set up, and you're not allowed to rent it, and that comes with some automatic
Well, you can
safeguards
rent,
in
you
and
can
of
rent,
itself.
you can rent this, I've been renting an accessory apartment for 30 years to my father-in-law. You can collect rent.
Well,
I
usually
was
we
just gonna
can-
say, what?
I have a permit, and it's,
Yeah,
like I
well,
said, that's
usually
how
we
I end up
condition
on
them to
this.
say, not to be used as rental property. I mean, generally, you've had yours for a while, so probably
Mhm.
doesn't say that in
Yeah.
there.
But,
But,
I mean, I don't know, I don't know
parents
what that.
contribute.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what that means.
It's not necessarily
In the
rent,
ABCD.
you know.
I mean, it's gotta be a family, I don't know, yours may not say it has to be a family member either.
It does, yeah.
His says it has to be someone related by blood or affinity.
Yeah. Okay, but, all right, but it's still a family member, so I mean,
Mhm.
it precludes a
that's-
lot of concerns
Mhm.
that a true rental property.
Well, there's a shared
raise
cost. I
with
mean, if you
yeah,
wanna call it
particularly
rent
the
or sharing costs, if a family member's gonna move in, they're gonna share the cost, or they're gonna pay rent. But in our case, we just did a rent agreement,
Right.
you know,
That's-
just to make it
that's
cleaner that way, rather than trying to figure out the heat bill every month, you know?
Right.
But no, I think you're right. I mean, I don't,
I think we're
I'm
just
just not
approving the
familiar
use.
with, you know, having not being all that familiar with DHCD and what they're gonna require.
Mhm.
We're sitting here, something comes up, we just wanna make sure that,
Yeah. I mean, you could peruse through the regulatory agreement, and that pretty much spells anything out.
There
No, we
isn't
trust
anything
you.
I just think everything's
So you
subject
just
You
hand them
realize
the
he is an attorney,
regulatory
so
agreement?
that.
No, you
Meaning-
send them to somebody in the Affordable Housing Task Force.
Mhm.
When they come in and they want it, you say, here's the application, make sure you talk to these guys, don't waste your time.
They will already have
You know?
talked to them because they can't even be on the list until they've done it.
if we put a condition in there that for some reason doesn't work with you guys, you gotta cross it out, send them back, and then we'll decide whether or not there's detriment
Well, yeah,
without
you-
that condition, and if
like-
there isn't, they'll just deny, we'll just deny the
We're
permit.
we're advisory, we're just gonna tell them what to expect and help them
Mhm.
work through the process, that's all.
You think?
The only thing,
I
I
don't
think
know.
it just has to be clear to the building inspector what the applicant is requesting, so that the
Sure.
initial denial is correct and clear.
And that's actually something John
Yeah.
could maybe add to it, is that you need to go get a special permit from the ZBA, and
That's
you
what I
also
was
need to
gonna say.
consult with the affordable.
Mhm.
And the other thing we could do, it would be really minor, is on the regular application, not to change the application, was where it says, please note that. And just say, if you're applying for a, whatever this is now called, you just add it right here.
It's gonna be a separate application.
No,
I don't know why you would do that. All I'm suggesting is that under your,
She means they
On page
reapply. When
2.
you say separate application,
Oh.
you mean reapply, or you say?
No, I mean the actual zoning this.
Why would it be
That
separate?
where-
How would it be any different?
It's a special
You could
permit.
just put a note on there saying that if this is for.
Cause the conditions.
exactly.
I think what you're suggesting could
It's
just
just
be.
have standard language.
That's what I
If you're applying for this, do
additional
this.
is
Yeah.
required.
You're done, then Patty doesn't even have to remember, they need to read the application.
I know, it's gonna say
all
right
I
in
would
it,
do.
chapter 165, section 69B,
No,
point
but
two.
what I'm suggesting is where it says petitioner requesting a variance, blah, 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 must, blah, blah, blah. Just
Yeah, yeah.
add a petitioner requesting affordable, whatever we just agreed to call this, blah, blah, blah.
Um,
Well, they write that in
Patty,
anyway.
it's all the
When they're
same.
applying for an
It is.
accessory
It's all
apartment,
the
they
I
get a
read
special
that-
permit for an
When
accessory
I talked to
apartment.
Howard, he said separate application, separate.
I thought we said that it wasn't gonna be a separate application.
No,
I think the email says separate application, separate bylaw.
It's a separate bylaw, but it's the same application, cause it's still a special permit.
Yeah, they're going to be.
Otherwise, we'd have
They're gonna be applying
1,000
for a
different
special permit
applications.
under this bylaw in the
Right.
application.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't
So,
make it separate.
I mean, you know,
application.
from the,
No.
if, you could put a note on there that if this is for this particular situation, to talk, talk to the task force, that would be fine if you wanna do that. I don't necessarily think that's necessary, because they're gonna come and they're gonna say, okay, how do I get this apartment? And Patty's gonna say, well, you can either go under this or that.
But it takes the onus off of Pat, if
Yeah.
it's,
No.
what's two sentences added here, it's a
They're
simply
gonna ask her
stated-
anyway.
Okay, so we need to come up
That
with
might
those
be
two
true.
sentences,
I'm not
because
sure
It's
where
really
you're
easy.
take this to planning
So
next month.
it's the
No,
second
because that's
one,
your form.
No,
All
but
I'm
Special
suggesting
permit,
is you,
Oh,
what do we
yeah, yeah.
say?
petitioner for variance, a petitioner for
The
affordable
regulatory
housing, blah, blah,
agreement,
blah.
Well, why not put the
Right? I mean, what do
accessory
we say?
apartment or cell tower or anything, I mean,
Because
What
there's
this
is-
100
is
of
what they're
them.
gonna
But what do we
read, and this
say?
is what they sign.
In that
But
line.
it's just a suggestion. Why,
that's something that the zoning board can work out on the form at
Yeah.
a
Are we
later.
gonna add every
I-
single one of these?
I
I
don't-
mean, it
No,
doesn't
no, no,
matter.
no.
It's not,
Well, we'll-
it's not separate.
Changing it tonight.
it's just a
It's not
generic,
separate.
generic statement, that's all, cause.
What
where we can
is
clear
the
it-
statement again you're talking about?
Just go see the task
Here.
force.
Again, I think they will have already done that, because they can't even do anything till they get on the the state subsidized housing inventory.
No, they
have
can't
to-
get on that
No.
until they come to us.
The permit won't become valid till they get on the
They
housing.
gotta do us
They'll
first.
take the approval, sign the regulatory agreement, go to DHCD. Once DHCD puts them on the SHI, then they're qualified for an occupancy permit.
I think
They
that
can't
you
get an
don't,
occupancy, an OC until they're on the SHI.
I know this puts it on you, but I think that you don't take an application for this special permit until someone has told you.
It needs to say that on the application, because if they fill out an application, they file with the town clerk, it's filed, clock starts, that's it.
So then we can put in a line at the end.
I can't stop them.
We'll put a line in at the end if this is for, I don't know, you've got, we'll figure this out.
I'm confused about the issues.
Or can we
Are you
put it in the
concerned that
bylaw?
it'll be an incomplete application or something?
She's afraid that people will fill it out and not know what they're doing and
Yeah.
having not
Well, they're
met
gonna
with
be,
them.
when they're applying, they're
I
gonna.
know, that's, I don't know.
Regulatory agreements that I'm giving them with that, and you just wanna add a line that says.
You're not
You don't have
giving
to
them
give 'em
regulatory
regulatory
agreements.
agreements.
You're taking the application, you're sending them to them.
They're gonna go to John and say, I want an affordable house.
When they're applying, they're gonna be applying under this section of the bylaw, so
Exactly.
they're already
They're
gonna
gonna
have
know
read
that.
it.
They're going to John first,
They're
they're
gonna know
gonna
that
get a
this is
denial,
there.
and they're gonna go
This
to
is,
you.
yeah, if they're gonna
That's
come
it.
into this, they're gonna have to have read it and apply under it, so.
Right.
I
Right.
don't really think of that, you know, I mean, it'd be, if you wanna direct them, that's fine, but
Do you,
Just about every application for permit to be issued by Town of Georgetown starts with, the building inspector.
Right.
Right.
And
That's right.
see how it conforms to the zoning code and everything.
right,
So they'll pick this application up, file it with him, and in his denial letter, he'll most likely say, you need to go to the zoning board, and he'll know, please, you need to coordinate with the task force.
I think we can have John just add that little blurb in there too.
And the task force will be the facilitators, because this is gonna be something that just, you don't go to one department first, go to the next. There is, I'm sure, gonna be a little bit of some involvement between the task force, the building inspector, and DACD about what makes the unit conforming and everything else, and once.
And it's sort of like what we do with site plan, you know, sometimes we kind of concurrently are
overlap.
seeing, yeah. So I don't think it's
believe
different.
everyone agrees they need to get the special permit issued by the zoning board before they can go for final
Yep.
approval by DACD to be placed on the inventory.
We're
Perfect.
basically just granting the use.
Exactly.
And if the town votes that they want to allow us to grant that use, if the town votes yes, right, we still have to vote on it. So if the
Exactly.
town
It's gotta go
says, yes,
through-
we want
yeah.
these type of a low-income housing apartments, then we can grant that use. If we don't see any problems with it, then it's out of our hands.
Exactly. And they might end up not getting approved, you know?
Whoa, exactly.
So,
if it doesn't get through DHCD, then it's a non-issue.
right.
And that's where that's the last hurdle I have to jump over, and that's the biggest hurdle I have to jump over.
I think this board is interested in that automatic mechanism that lets us feel comfortable that now we don't have a permit out there for something that they never actually made it to DHCD, or that they did and they got rejected. We've already granted the use, and clearly
Well,
they
John,
can't, but
John can't grant the occupancy permit till this permit is valid. And this permit won't be valid until it's on the SHI.
okay, yep, there you go.
Because when you get the building permit, that's only to build. You can build anything as long as it meets code and structural and dimensional
right.
controls.
But
The
your
use of it,
occupancy-
it requires an occupancy permit, and the OC won't come until this has been satisfied.
Yep, great.
So can you guys put conditions on it, or you can't?
No, we can put conditions on it, they just can't conflict with the requirements of GHCD regulatory.
Mhm.
And it's,
Right.
Or
I
if
mean,
they,
we could say.
or
you
if
can
they
fence
do,
up.
we're gonna find out after the fact and say, oh, we've got a permit, but it's not gonna be, able to be, affordable accessory housing.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
still think the chances of that are slim.
Well, no,
I think the chances of anyone coming forward with this is pretty awesome.
I mean, we do a lot of stuff. A lot of the
Yeah, really.
conditions that we impose in planning is the same thing. You know, it's privacy issues. It's you know,
But if
these
we-
aren't reviewed by planning. So in this case, we look at, you know, is there any ability for people to park? Is, you know, what, you know,
Right.
and
And that's-
as
those-
the
that also-
butters
those-
come up and they've got to
Right.
raise all kinds of stuff.
those concerns are still valid.
And if
Yeah.
we can't mitigate them somehow, then the
Right,
odds are this
sorry.
would probably be denied. And
Yeah.
so, but if we can,
And those
we
are the-
can. And they say, well, we don't have enough, well, we'd have enough parking for one car. Well, maybe occupancy of limited to two would be all right. Well, okay, well, that's a good idea. And if, hey, you can't do that, that's, you know, and
And they're gonna have to
okay. But I mean, so the only risk that we would have, and it
Yeah.
kind of gets what Paul was saying, is
Being
we issue a
inconsistent.
permit and then a condition gets struck for some reason because it's deemed to be, you know, illegal or whatever.
Then you gotta do the decision over again?
Well,
No,
it's-
it's
I don't think it's gonna happen,
It's
but
not gonna happen.
if,
Because we're not the type of people that condition things that are, it's gonna be a discriminatory condition, and we don't put in discriminatory conditions.
not intentionally.
I don't, well, name one time we've done it.
No,
I don't
I-
think we've ever done
I-
it. Like,
I
I just
really
feel
don't
like we're
think
all
it's-
pretty smart people up
I mean,
here.
if you, obviously, you've got a dimensional issue or a parking issue or something like that, those are gonna be dealt with, you know.
And that's not gonna be a problem with the HCD.
It's not gonna conflict. I
Yeah,
don't think the
exactly.
zoning
I
board
don't-
is gonna issue a condition that
No,
conflicts
I-
with DHCD.
I agree.
And there may
Without
be,
intentionally doing so, but.
I won't let you.
well, neighbors might, if neighbors, we always respond to neighbors and where they're coming from, and a lot of times, if neighbors really feel strongly about something, a lot of times the applicant just steps back and, stops the application because they don't want to upset everyone.
Rile
Now,
up
granted,
everybody in the neighborhood.
doesn't always happen, but
No, I mean, you've been on obviously through enough hearings where you're gonna hear just about everything coming from
Sure.
the audience. And,
absolutely.
I mean, in my particular circumstance, we had one fellow who was making some outlandish claims about what we planned to do with the addition we were building, and, unfortunately, nobody listened to him. And, that's happens, that's part of being on the board.
Right.
You gotta kinda cut the wheat from the chaff
Yep.
and decide what's good and what's bad,
Right.
What wording for a decision?
Does this ultimately,
Same
how
thing.
does this work at
Necessary.
town meeting? It would be a regular town meeting?
Mhm.
So does the planning board say, yes, we think this is a good idea? Who basically signs off and then everyone in the audience says, okay, and they,
Well, the zoning board it can really formalize their belief in what the task force is doing, making a vote.
Yep.
To refer it affirmatively to the planning board will see that, they'll hear, on a public hearing, they'll listen to the task force, and then ultimately, they make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen for inclusion on the warrant. And then it gets vetted through town council, it gets vetted through the, FinCom, but this won't really have a lot of effect on that. But then it goes to town meeting, so there's other levels of review. But it starts.
It starts with us.
support of the zoning board.
if it's either thumbs up or thumbs down with us, or can it be a split board and stuff like that? I mean, how does
Well,
that work?
it's just, it's not, if you vote 3 against, and 2 in up, in favor, but it's just, it would make it look stronger to the planning board. Planning board's really looking for the zoning board, and it sounds like you have vetted this out, and if you're comfortable with it, it's not a binding decision, but it just shows that you're in support.
It just means a lot, because at town meeting, no one really, unless someone stands up and fights against it or is for it, generally, yep, all right, and they say good, and they don't even realize a lot of times what they're voting on is that's to allow low-income apartments in their town, wherever they may be. And that may be fine.
It's very rare, but the planning board may not recommend something for inclusion on the warrant, and the Board of Selectmen may believe that it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, if it gets its way through committee and everything else and ends up on the warrant, everyone agrees that it's up to the town.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and if you do have some concerns down the road, obviously you'd be free to voice those to the planning board at the hearing. Your input is still open, it's still there. If you see something that, you see this is going away you don't like, you can obviously make your feelings known.
I think it solves some problems, and it does get those illegal accessory apartments out in the light a little bit, and
Well, it gives them
and
an
it's
option.
doing what you guys want it to do, is protecting the town from all kinds of strange developments and things. We're trying to get those numbers up, I know.
Get those numbers up, especially coming down the pike,
Yeah.
you don't know what's gonna happen as the economy changes and there's we start seeing some of these, bigger lots get developed,
And just from a very,
I'll add to it too, the trust has a rental assistance program. And there are people in the program that don't really have an option about where they can locate to. They want to stay in Georgetown for family, their kids might be in the school. But they're very limited in terms of, what
It's
they're
available.
able and location, yes, but what they can pay. There's very few known alternative locations besides certain areas. So this opens up the ability, if someone's in this rental program and they want to move into a different place that is more affordable, that they don't have to be a part of the rental program, then it's an option for them. It furthers the goals of the housing production plan as well, so.
and just from a very dollars and cents type matter here, every project we've been looking at to get houses on the SHI, get units on the SHI, we're thinking in our heads are running between $30,000 and $80,000 per unit for the town, costing the town. This would be a unit that is essentially free to the town. The cost would only be borne by the homeowner.
Right.
This would offset the next 10-house subdivision coming into town. So that's a pretty sizable benefit.
Do you have any more
Good,
questions?
thank you.
No, other than what they need from us tonight, and
Yeah, do you
I
need
think
us?
what we're really looking for is just the support of the zoning board to send it to the planning before that they take it to town warrant.
this is sort of subject to final revision by the planning board. Obviously, we talked about a few things that need to be added, the schedule uses
And-
and
and
all
as it
that.
goes through that
You know,
process-
We're not gonna hash all those details out
No.
tonight, but you guys will, so.
Right. We'll hash them out and we'll keep you apprised with, I don't think there's gonna be
Any major changes?
substantial changes, but in terms of the integration into the bylaw, that's gonna be the biggest part. We'll copy you on the public hearing notice, so you'll know what the name is and the section is and everything else. And if through the process, if a few things get changed, then we'll keep you updated.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, these guys have been very
I think you need a
thorough.
motion. I think you just need to do a straw poll of the board.
Oh.
Is adequate. I don't think we need to do a motion on this, Patty, do we? Or do you want one?
Just a recommendation to send it to.
Yeah, it's just a vote on recommendation to.
Just wanna
Yeah,
vote
absolutely.
Support to the.
Vote of support on the.
Okay. I'd like to call for a vote of support on the Affordable Housing Task Force.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm in
Yes.
favor.
Yes,
I think it's fine.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you, guys.
Have a great night.
And I
Luck.
just want to add a little bit to what was discussed. There's been some discussion between the zoning board and the planning board about site plan reviews and conditions and things like that. There's been a little bit of some confusion and overlap. And you just mentioned it during this, that if you need to look into mitigation of the use and impact on the neighbors and everything else, you might condition it in certain ways to include screening and things like that. But the planning board's aware of it, and the zoning board is, about trying to get some communication going. So we'll certainly be looking to the zoning board and being involved, probably in January, February, once we start getting through some of these bylaw amendments, about how we can clarify that.
Yeah.
So there isn't the conflict in decision, and
course.
inviting the decision and everything.
Unfortunately, it's they end up doing both at the same time, or some, like the order, it seems to be not very clear. What, you know, we're not necessarily interested in granting a special permit or something if we feel that they haven't addressed some really, again, we should be doing use only, but the use and the way it's organized on the site sometimes really means a lot to us as it impacts the neighbors.
But we need to be
So
a
it's
little
very
more
complicated.
specific when we want something, but we also have to realize, I think like for screening specifically, I'm thinking of one of the things that are recent. We need to say we want screening along, you know, the house, between the house, along the plot line, or figure out something exactly where we want it.
For the
So-
purposes
Well,
of
we can
XYZ
attach-
should be
And-
determined by the
Right,
planning
and
board.
Yeah.
the zoning
Determined
board
by the
really can
planning
get
board.
site-specific with that,
Yeah.
if they're not gonna be going for site plan.
Right.
But, and what we wanna do is make sure that the language you're using will allow the planning board
Yep.
to not only consider it, but to be able to
Define
write
it.
a decision that doesn't conflict with it.
Right,
Right.
yep.
So
Yep.
it can be a little bit more loose and specific to what you just mentioned.
Yep.
The recent application for the use stated you would like to see a fence, and really, the planning board's now saying, okay, now we're gonna decide where that fence goes. And we wanna see if it's gonna be on the adjoining property. If it's gonna be an adjoining property, we wanna see the property owner saying, yes, that's okay with us. So that was something the planning board certainly considered. But it's just revisiting some things and making sure that everyone agrees. It's always good to come back and
Yep.
reinforce the fundamentals, so.
Sure, yep.
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
So are you gonna, do you wanna plan, attendance at one of our business meetings, maybe in January, February, to kinda go over that
Yes,
with us?
yeah.
I think
With the
that would be-
planning
That
board?
would be beneficial.
Yeah.
We had a couple of emails that went back and forth
Yeah.
a month or
and
so
just
ago, and
wanna
I think
close the loop on
I
that.
think but I think
Yeah.
that in itself went a long way to help
It did.
clarifying a few things between
It did,
both the
and
boards.
to
So
work up some examples and
Mhm.
things like that.
yeah, in that particular case is a good example of one, actually.
Yeah.
But that came on an
Yeah, it's a
email?
great example.
Well, there was several conditions that were a bit ambiguous.
to call me.
The intent was there, but it could have been drafted better on our end. And so I think it's a good
can't.
example of how.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Thanks,
Night,
guys.
night.
Thanks so much.
What's that?
How to get it in.
Yeah, right.
Holiday.
Thanks a lot,
I
guys.
don't
Good
know
luck.
what to do. I don't
What name?
use
Get
email.
name.
Okay.
It's just the reality.
Okay.
My computer's
Yeah,
in a
well, you're
freaking
gonna tell
car.
us the name and then we're
Well,
gonna
get a new
advertise.
computer, get a laptop.
No, I don't, that would be the only reason I read emails for the ZBA.
Okay.
So I just want Patty to call me. Tell me
And
what's
read your
going on.
email?
No,
Yeah. Yeah, read my
I just
email.
remembered to call you the
Okay.
other day, cause I've been,
Is there anything else on business? We've gotta go through business quickly so we can get to their
Do you
hearing.
wanna,
Or do you wanna
just
do their
Keep it open
hearing?
hearing if you'd like.
Yep.
Okay, why don't we
Follow
go
up
right,
with business after if you want to do that. These guys are ready.
you wanna recess the business meeting?
yes.
brief?
Do we have to,
No, you just can
recess?
recess.
Where's the legal ad?
Here, I got one right here. Oh, well, I can read this one.
And just
Okay.
say you'd like to recess the business meeting
Oh,
until
until I did.
following
I put the
the
large
hearing.
plan I had on there.
Address.
Okay.
That's a good question. 56
56
Hanover.
Hanover.
All right, oh, here's the legal ad.
You know what I mean?
Yep, so you gonna read the legal ad?
It's
We're
risky.
gonna recess the business meeting until after our hearing for 56 Andover Street. Would you like to read the legal ad?
Maybe Sharon could do it. I'm already getting a little funky.
Sure.
No, my throat, it just gets dry in here. Terrible.
Thanks to,
Is it Paniello?
Yeah.
Ready?
Yep.
This is the legal notice, Town of Georgetown Zoning Board of Appeals. A public hearing will be held on December 2nd, 2014 at 7:30 PM at the Georgetown Town Hall, third floor, meeting room for an application filed by owner applicant 56 Andover Street LLC and Vanessa Traniello of 19 Eagle Street, Newburyport, Mass. 01950, for the property located at 56 Andover Street, Georgetown, Mass. Assessors Map
just an
5A Lot
FYI.
15 in the RA zone. The owner applicant requires a finding under 16594 and special permit pursuant to Georgetown zoning bylaws, chapter 165, sections 9, 78, 79, 89, 94, and Mass General Law 48, section 9, to build in addition to the side and rear of the existing dwelling. The existing structure and lot are pre-existing non-conforming. This is ZBA file number 15-04. That's all I have to read, right?
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Do we have to read this too?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Hi, I'm Gina, Sharon, Paul, and Jeff, and
How are
that's
you guys?
Patty Tari.
Yeah. Patty, plenty.
If you'd like to do your presentation, would like to hear it?
Yeah, sure. I'll turn over to my husband and our building project manager, Eric Kaminsky, and our architect, Matt Cummins.
Hi.
My wife and I purchased the home in September, and I'm sure you guys are very familiar with the home. It's about half a mile up the street here. The home is small. It was outdated inside. The house that's next door to it is vacant as well right now. So we purchased the property with the intent of renovating it, adding some livable space to the property. Right now, it's about 900 square feet, remarkably small. It also did not pass Title V. Subsequently, we have had, the septic has been redone and filed at the health department. That's all been taken care of. But essentially, we wanted to basically do an investment project, bring some life. We feel Georgetown's a great town. It's a close walk to town. And I feel that, you know, the designs that Matt has come up with do give it a very elegant look, especially being as close to the street, as close to Andover Street as it is. The house, as you know, existing does not have a garage or anything onto the right-hand side. Being that it is that close to the street, we wanted to give the future owners a little bit of privacy in the back for road noise, stuff like that, as well as give them a garage and third bedroom up above that.
Do we have any new correspondence on this, Carly?
No.
Can you walk through a little bit of regarding the existing conditions versus the proposed change? Because you have an existing non-conforming structure
Yeah.
that's going to be changing in several directions, so maybe you could kind of
Yeah,
walk
so-
through that a little bit.
This is the existing house. Here it is obviously non-conforming on the right-hand side, 2 feet, roughly 2.1 feet in the front, 2.6 in the back. This were existing within the setback reasons where we've got it in the front as well. But this house, as it sits right here, we're essentially looking to remove part of that pre-existing non-conforming section up here that's closest, and actually the closest point to the property line. So we'll be removing some of the pre-existing non-conforming and kind of redistributing some of that space to the part of the house where we can sit within. But as I said, to get this garage in here, and I actually believe, I'm not 100% positive whether it's 5 feet or 10 feet on the side setback in Georgetown.
15, I
It's
think.
15.
But to get a single car garage onto this one-hand side, we did have to encroach onto this side of the property line.
You did good, Aaron.
So it will now be 5.7
5.2
feet
at
from the
shortest
property
point,
line.
6.1 here. This corner of the house right here will still be 2.6. That's an existing back corner of the property. That will stay within that line. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the property. This elevation changes from here. It goes up about 4 feet to where the other property slopes up.
That property is now sold to someone, I think.
No, it's back on the market.
It's back on the
Yeah.
market,
Yeah.
so, okay.
Back on the market.
Good to know.
I did go around to the neighbors. I was unable to get in touch with the people that live directly to, if you're facing the house directly to the right of it. My wife did get an email from the homeowner that lives across the street in the yellow house up on top, and they had sent us a letter that they were in favor of it as long as it stayed as a residential.
Yeah, that notice came back from the Woodfords that used to live there,
Okay.
so they're in different. But
Sorry?
It just came back, the abutters notice came back from that yellow house.
Oh, it
So
got
it's-
returned
Yeah, they don't
as
live there.
undeliverable or
They're
something.
gone.
Yeah, it's vacant right now.
So the letter that you have is from someone who doesn't live there
No,
anymore?
this is the yellow house
Oh,
across the street.
okay, I understand.
Directly across the
So
street.
we
Would you like
should-
to have that letter in your
I
possession?
think we need to read it into the record, right?
Yeah, because that would be new correspondence.
Yeah, I
Um,
didn't know.
No,
If
they
if you
just-
guys want to present it as support, that's fine. It's somebody that you
Yes,
you
it's-
received an email from an
Yes.
abutter, so if they,
We can, it's an email. He
Oh, so
sent
it's
us an email. He
technically
wasn't
not
able
our
to get to
well, it is now
us.
if they want to.
He wasn't able to.
I assume they,
meetings.
they didn't say how.
Yeah, it's
Sure,
a letter of
yeah,
support, but
yeah,
sure, go
it's-
ahead.
Want me to read it?
Yes.
Sure. Hello, Vanessa. Just to let you know, we will not be able to attend the Georgetown Zoning Board's meeting on December 2nd because we will not be in town. Returning 2 days later from Thanksgiving in Seattle, I hope our absence will not be an issue regarding the meeting. We really do not know the detailed issues Board wants to address for your lot. But in case Board wants our opinion, we have no issues with any requests you may make for your property, especially if it remains residential. Good luck. Happy Thanksgiving. Ed and Susan, and I don't have the last name, but I assume these are the,
Yeah, they
It's
live
at the top.
directly across the street.
Traniello. Oh,
that's me.
That's you, I'm sorry.
It's
So
up
they
at the
did-
top is at,
Oh, Ed Suits, okay.
it's a tough name.
Yeah. So. So their
Do
concern
we
was
want to
obviously,
exhibit it?
Hey, Jeff, or somebody, what is the, do we consider decks to be a part of this existing non-conforming or to be more non-conforming? I can't, because, can you build decks
Well-
right up to your property line?
no, but that's, well, it was a little confusing. There's no more, well, there's a sort of a steps, right? The
Yeah,
deck is.
this is the existing
existing.
deck that will be removed, and here is just some steps coming out the back French doors.
Yeah.
Down to the property line, so the steps are here. There's not necessarily a rear porch on the property anymore.
Is that a,
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, they essentially might extend 40 inches from the rear of the house,
Yeah.
just enough to get a stoop and some steps to meet code.
Yeah, so
But
when
we
you
made
walk,
them wide and.
On the elevations, you can sort of see them. I was looking for those as well. I think it looked to me like there was a deck on there.
Doesn't that have a part of them?
I'm not sure.
Am I the only one that got the denial?
No,
Was it in, it wasn't in my packet, I was just wondering if
it
it was.
wasn't in the packet?
It was not in mine, but that doesn't mean, did you guys get the denial from John?
Yeah, do you need it?
No, I have it, it wasn't, it was just missing from my packet.
The business manager? Oh, that would be like professional or something. I don't know.
What do you want?
No, it's fine, I just wanted to make sure we knew what the nonconformities were, because this one,
No, I have it.
okay.
You might have missed one, because we were last minute reconfiguring, remember? The
Mhm.
application.
2 months
We're
ago,
trying to
yeah.
beat the town clerk before she left.
No, that's all right,
Thank you.
he sent it to me today anyway, but.
Show me, on the plan, show me the plan view again, so I'm not quite
The
clear
floor
on this.
plan or the site plan?
Uh,
You wanna show you the
probably
floor
guess the
plan?
site
That would
plan.
be a- Okay,
The site plan, so it's a new garage,
so this is the garage, the 18 by 26.
yep, yep,
Yep, so it's a one-car garage with the door on the side.
and then it extends, so then there's, how does the roof line work on that, I'm not, let's see here,
So this is the front of the existing house that has a gable,
yep,
and then the garage would be a cross gable, so it would happen in the opposite direction towards the side of the house.
yep,
So if you're looking at the garage from the neighbor's side, you'd see this barn-looking structure from the side.
And it's lower than the house.
It's
The-
the
the
same
roof
exact
line
height as
is-
the house.
The roof line is lower, it looks lower than the house.
No,
This is your
the
existing
peak, the
ridge.
peak is the same height.
And then the ridge for the garage matches it, it's
I
exactly
see,
the same.
okay.
So it's no taller than the existing structure.
but to the, so down at the right elevation, that back part is new building, correct?
This is.
Yes.
Yes,
and this
all right.
little shed is, and this is.
I'm just trying to figure out where that line is on the plans here.
Yeah, just put this in perspective, the existing height of the house is only 24 and a half feet. So, you know, if just, and further, the first floor is only 18 inches off the grade,
Mhm.
and the existing house as well has a knee wall that's about 3.5 feet tall, and then you have a roof slope. So,
Mhm.
talking about a very small house in height. So what we did when we designed the barn section, it's sort of a tough request, well, we tried anyways, is to make sure that barn wasn't any taller than the house was to begin with and meet code for ceiling heights and new doors and so forth inside. If you notice what we did, for instance, with the barn, is we have a little bitty shed dormer on the front. It's, well, not little bitty, but it's not too big. It's 8.5 feet on the front, so it doesn't extend the whole length, but it's just enough to give a little bit of ceiling height out of the front. And then in the rear, where you can't see it so much, we have a larger shed dormer, but even then, we pulled it back from the front. And that's what we did along the sides of the building, or on either side, so that we didn't blow off the roof or have a structure that looks any larger than it is. The other thing to note, when we're talking about the scale of the building, is this barn structure is pushed back on the front facade of the gable. So in reality, when you look at a house, this gable would seem tall, but this roof line would seem a lot smaller because you're looking at the slope of the roof from the street, if that makes sense. So this roof line, although it's the same height as the main roof, when you look at it from the street, might seem, let's say from the edge of the sidewalk on this side of the street, might seem 2 or 3 or 4 feet lower than this gable itself.
So the nonconformity is originally on, if we're just looking at the plan, it's originally on the right, but now we're having a new nonconformity on the left as well. Is that correct?
The existing nonconformity is on the left and the new one is on the right.
Right. Well, I meant as I'm looking at it.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Architects always think about looking at the front of the house. Don't.
Right, if I was looking at, the house.
Yep, and this nonconformity, which extends for quite a distance, we're shortening that up to only about the half. And although only this one point matches, it does get farther away. And what we're making sure that we do is we keep about 5 feet, keep 5 feet at minimum so that there's access to the back of the building. So if somebody needs to get back there with a wheelbarrow or things or whatever it is, they can get to the back.
Do you know the size of the shed there that's being removed?
Yeah, it's
Is that, I don't know if that was to scale or if that was.
it's actually a 12 by 20 foot shed that's essentially just sitting on the ground. It's not, there's no footings or anything to it. I think I measured it because I wanted to, if you know anyone that wants to buy a shed.
Yeah, anyone in the market for a shed?
It's got some kitchen cabinets in it.
That one's kind of hard to move.
I know.
But to be clear, to follow up on Gina's question, I think there's several nonconformities. One is the size of the lot
Well, yeah.
does not conform. One of the things we have to look at in this particular case is, the section 6 protection for changes to pre-existing nonconforming single and two-family structures. The first thing you gotta do is identify what the nonconformities are. One is the lot size. This is RA, is that right? Yeah, RA. So 15,000 square feet is required, and they have a total of 12,276. Requires 125 feet of frontage. They've got 48.68. Is that right?
Yep.
And then the setback issue, you've got a 2.1 foot setback on the left side. Those are the three nonconformities. Obviously, the frontage and the lot size are not changing as part of the requested change, but the setbacks would be changing. So, one of the things we want to do is identify the nonconformities to begin with, and then determine whether or not the requested change intensifies any of those nonconformities. So,
These guys came to see me, well, actually, I went to see them and I saw the lot initially and saw the width of the lot. I said, oh boy. And they took me to the backyard and they said, oh, the lot goes all the way back there. And I thought, well, that doesn't do this house any good, you know? And first thing I thought was, this is a really oddly shaped lot. And we could have a linear building that heads from front to back, but then what do? We have a garage in the front of the street. And then we put all the family room spaces in the back. But we have all the living spaces on the front of the skinny lot, and have kids playing in the front yard, and put a garage in the back of the house, you know? Do we park cars and kids' swing sets and things to the side of the house? None of those things seem to be sort of appropriate, and I think that certainly one would wish that we had a lot that was another 15 or 20 feet wider, but it's sort of the lot that it is, and I think what we're trying to do is be as sensitive as we can with designing the one-car garage and keeping the roof line and the structure compact and keeping it familiar to the shape of the house that it is and the character of the neighborhood.
is there any access to the rear lot with the new design? Is there any way you're going to be able to get back there if you needed to? That's a convenience thing, I guess.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, you've got access around this side.
for pedestrian, but not any kind of vehicle. If you're gonna put a septic, I know the septic design is not part of our bailiwick. That's been designed?
Septic's already done.
Oh, it's already
Signed
complete.
off, health, done.
Is it constructed yet?
Yeah, it's completely done. Seated.
Oh, it's all done.
Done.
Okay, and that's in the rear, I assume.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yep.
5 feet's an interesting dimension because it allows a very small machine to sneak down the side and do work. So you see little bitty machines that drive on sidewalks, and that's.
And I can't remember, is that a fence there, or is there a wall? or what's
No,
that? I
it's
kind of
like
forget.
shrubbery.
Oh, I
There's
thought
like
it was a fence.
boxwood
Yeah,
along that line.
it's just a consider, it's not
No, no,
just
I understand.
consideration. You know, it's nice to be able to get to your backyard.
Of course.
No, and that's why we made a point of, we knew we had to get into the setback there, but what we discussed in my office was no less than 5 feet, no matter what, no less than 5 feet.
And is the rear, is it wooded back in here, or is it open?
It's mainly open grass. If you're looking at the plan, it's open to about here. And then it becomes more of a, overgrowth. But it is open with grass back in here.
Okay.
You can play on the septic.
Good place to play.
Is the house next door on the other side for sale? Or is there one right, like 2 houses down?
The
yellow-
one just to the, if you're looking at this house,
Yeah.
the one to the left is the yellow house.
That's the empty one,
That's
yeah.
the empty one.
And is there one to the right?
The one to the
Or two
right
down?
is a White House. They live there. I had tried to stop over, but nobody had answered the door.
That one is, as well, it's not close to the property line, there's
No,
quite a
right.
bit of space to the side.
Yeah.
The letter that was returned was from the yellow house? Yeah. okay.
Yeah, it'd be from
From the
54
vacant,
or,
the vacant house, not from the people in the White House.
no.
Alright.
Well, I'll throw it out there. I think it's a pretty nice design myself, to be honest with
It is a nice looking house.
you. The roof pitches all match? Does the roof pitch of the barn match the original house?
It doesn't quite, but you wouldn't pick up on it. And that's because of how you view the two gables. You can't really see the two gables clearly unless you're walking slowly down the street, deliberately stop for a second, took a picture. But there's close enough that maybe only an architect and engineer might pick it up, or somebody who, pays attention closely.
Yeah, we had to
There's-
do
there's
some
two
similar
different types
things
of
to
sidings.
our home, and it was key to get,
I'm familiar.
get everything the same,
Yep.
so it just looks like, it doesn't
We
look
deliberately.
like a house with a big addition, it looks like.
So when it's done, it looks like
that
it's
was
always
tacked
been
on.
there.
Yeah,
Right.
colonial homes that tend to be tacked on over time, and that's
Yeah.
kind of the way it is, and so.
We deliberately used different sidings and a few different little details on it, so it looked like there was a barn, in a way, attached to a house, as opposed to a garage. I mean, simply painting the thing red and using vertical siding, people just automatically
Sure, of
think,
course.
barn, little transom window above it, some shower headlights, and paint the garage door black, and make sure it's a very plain-looking door, and people have that natural feel of what it might, have that feel of what it might be naturally.
Want me to continue, or do you have some other?
No, go ahead.
I just throw it out there. I mean, one of the things we have to do as a board is determine what the nonconformities are, which the pre-existing nonconformities are, which we did. And luckily, the laws have changed a little bit recently, making it easier for us to go through the two-step process in these cases. And it's clear that a variance is no longer required in this case. And years ago, I think there wasn't a board in Massachusetts that would allow us to go through without a variance because you're creating a new nonconformity on the opposite side. That's been clarified recently in the Gale versus Gloucester case especially, that basically, somebody summarized it really well. I said this a few months back, that homeowners wishing to extend or expand their pre-existing non-conforming single or two-family residential structures cannot be forced by a municipality to obtain anything other than a special permit under Mass General Law, Section 6. So basically, with a pre-existing non-conforming single or two-family structure, even if they're creating a new nonconformity, this is still can be considered as a special permit. They can be granted, one, provided that there's no substantial detriment in the plan that they're doing. So the process is that you identify the nonconformities and then determine whether or not the proposed alteration would intensify any of the existing nonconformities or result in additional ones. And I'd throw it out there that I think this is creating a new nonconformity. I think it does intensify the existing nonconformity being the setback. So then the question becomes, they do need a special permit from us, and the question is it substantially more detrimental? Or if it is gonna be conditioned to the point where it's not substantially more detrimental? I'll throw it out there that I think, I think it's a good design, and I think an upgrade to the existing structure is warranted, and I think it's a nice upgrade. So although they are creating a setback issue on the opposite side of 5.2 feet, they are on the opposite side kind of reducing the nonconformity by virtue of the amount of square footage that falls within that 15-foot buffer. I think all in all, there's probably a little bit more of the structure that's going to fall within the 15-foot structure if you add up the two, but in the scope of things, I think it's a nice addition and would be a nice upgrade to that neighborhood, and I don't see anybody here in opposition to it, so.
No, I agree.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, no, I agree. The only thing you could do is not just have parking instead of a garage, but everyone knows that would be nice to have a garage, so there's not a lot you can do with that property in order to make it, I mean, you've done everything you can. You've gone back a little bit, you've gone to the side a little bit. Yeah, I think it's fine too. It's obviously a major upgrade anyways, so it'll be nice for the town to have that done. I was just surprised. I didn't quite understand that the addition went back. Like literally, there's a house twice as big as it was before. I think it is. Right?
Essentially,
Yeah.
essentially.
This house is, it's very small.
Yeah.
Have you driven by there?
Yeah.
If you saw the front of it, like you see most people's homes, you'd say, oh, well, maybe it goes back 30 or 40 feet, but it doesn't. It's actually close to as deep as it is wide. It might be sort of 18 by 20 feet or something like that. It's smaller than this room overall in square footage possibly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of like saying doubling the size of something that's,
Right. No, I think it's probably not reasonable to not be anything less than doubling the size of the house for any family to move in there.
we tried very hard at the streetscape to make it look as though it's still that small petite house.
It pretty much mimics the density that's right in that little pocket of town anyways, you know, right on that, they're weird. Some are close, some are spread out, some
Yeah.
are back.
Can you orient me to what is in the, above the garage? Is that the bedroom?
Yes. It's the master
Bedroom is over the garage.
master
Okay.
bedroom, master bath.
Okay, yep. I understand. Yep.
Yeah, so this would be
Easy.
the garage. We have one of the bedrooms, one of the front
This is
bedrooms.
the driveway.
This is the driveway right here.
I got it.
So this
Okay.
is
See, look at how this,
bedroom,
look at all these little
bathroom,
houses in
and
here. It
master
can't
out the
really
back.
have that big of an impact.
and we have
And they're all
the other
right
bedroom
close
in
to
the
the
existing
Yeah.
Yep.
section of the house.
That's
So
why
the
I
existing
grabbed that
section
too.
of the
I was
house
like, what do they
is
all look like?
essentially,
I know.
you know, this big.
It's a lot
Right.
better than what's down here.
But yeah, I mean, you know, we needed to gain, we needed to essentially get the garage in so that we could make this a three-bedroom.
I gave you a separate sheet with it all.
You have it.
Oh, no, the plans.
Oh.
Patty keeps us
Put the
honest.
plans into the record.
You just want Exhibit A, Exhibit B. You
Whatever you
took,
wanna use.
did you label that letter?
I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, I have it right there.
I was looking at the
do the
see,
letter
this is the
A.
original.
So then,
And
Why
I
don't-
was
what's the
rather
letter? Let's do,
interested in the addition, the new
exhibit-
building goes way out here. It's not just deck.
One, so then the plans will be letters.
okay.
But even still, the only non-conforming part is on the other side here. Not
Right.
going back. They can go back as far as they want.
Right.
Uh,
I was just like, what the nature of the nonconformity really hasn't increased much. It's just
If
on
you're
this
gonna
side
do the
essentially,
condition
but
built as per
there's not a lot
plans
you can do anyways. I mean,
Then John will need that.
15 feet is right here, so even if they wanted to, it's just not a lot you could do. Yeah.
so, talking about betterment and detriment, I think you hit the nail on the head, Paul. So, you could have, you know, living space and a dining room, and then you could have a kitchen, and then you could have a garage behind that.
Right.
So then what you do is you have this long driveway against the neighbor's yard with cars parked in it, and then you'd swoop around to get to the barn / garage on the side, and then the kids would be playing in the front lawn of the driveway and you would be in the back lawn, so.
It doesn't make a nice connection for the house into the yard anyways,
Nobody
and
would want
blocking it off. I
Nobody
know.
would want it, no.
Yeah, no, it's nice.
And I'm talking about when nobody wants it, I'm talking about the point of view of the people who live in
Sure.
the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, that too, yeah.
So if you have septic repair, it can get back that far.
They
yeah.
have these little tiny,
They do.
mhm.
Yeah.
They look like,
I mean, hopefully you
They're mini
won't, but
excavators.
it
They
happens.
drive
They're
on the
little minis.
sidewalks.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And the
They can
pump,
be as
the
close
pump
as 3
goes
feet
along
wide,
those,
yeah.
yeah.
they're adult male toys,
Cool.
right? Kinda? Maybe females, some
Little bit,
females
yeah.
might.
You never know, you never know.
I mean, it's up to the neighbors to show. I wish they were here because that is quite a change for them. But
They must
Their
love it
house
so
is-
much that they
yeah.
didn't feel the need
but their
to
house
show.
is quite a bit
So-
away.
They're distance away.
The house
Yeah.
is.
So
won't be
what the
encroaching on
one
it by any
house that
means.
you
I saw.
said you didn't meet on this was 5A16? Was that? You
What's
said
that
that there was one house that you knocked on their door and you didn't see them. Just
Yeah,
as far as
five
that.
A, 5A14.
14.
It's the White House.
5A14.
Okay.
It's
the White House up on the hill.
where the
Yeah.
garage is.
Yep, that's where I
Coming
knocked on, they weren't
closer.
there, that's obviously vacant.
Yep.
5A23
Is the one right across
Etsy,
the street.
the letter that we got.
Yeah.
the
And
recommendation.
they're right across the street.
Yep,
these noted exhibits?
No.
Have we done that
she's
yet?
gonna mark- she's gonna
I'm,
mark them.
You wanna take the lead and mark them up?
I-
Or
I
identify
marked-
what's what?
I
So
marked
I
them.
read into
Is that the one you read?
That's the new
I'm writing this, all of it.
The new law.
What?
Wanna read?
They have to be read into the record.
Oh, right now?
sorry?
Mhm.
Oh, what
Oh,
am I
not
doing?
before. I thought it was part of the motion.
Well, you need to
Can't
put
do a
the
motion
exhibit.
until I know what all the exhibits are.
Plan, I'll do it.
I can do it if you want.
Oh,
I already
yeah.
marked them up.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, they just
All
gotta
right.
be read though.
If to be read.
That's what I said. They're already marked.
Want me to read them?
I'll do it.
I'll read it.
No, they're marked.
No, you have to read
No,
it
you
into the
have to,
record.
they have
Go
to be
ahead.
read into the record like a letter.
Oh,
Oh, so we can do it now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the new law.
Sorry.
okay.
No, it's okay.
I should know that.
I declare that I'm reading the exhibits. Okay, these are the plans to mark for 56 Andover Street. One plot plan certified by Summit Surveying Incorporated, 1 Jackson Street, Newburyport, Mass. 10950. Survey is dated September 11, 2014, stamped by Charles J. Brennan, PLS on 10/16/14. This is Exhibit A. Number 2, Sheet A1, front, right, left, and rear elevation drawings by Cummings Architects, 87 Central Street, Ipswich, Mass., dated 10/15/2014, which is now Exhibit B. Number 3, Sheet A2, first floor proposed renovations layout by Cummings Architects, dated 10/15/2014, is now Exhibit C. Number 4, Sheet A3, second floor proposed renovations layout by Cummings Architects, dated 10/15/2014, is Exhibit D. And finally, number 5, Sheet S1, the main house and garage sections by Cummings Architects, dated 10/15/2014, is Exhibit E. So noted.
Exhibits A through E.
Yes, A through E.
Patty, thank you for doing the cheat sheet.
Yes.
Otherwise, there'd be a lot of fumbling with papers.
It's easier for me with this too, so I already had that in there, I just put it in
Right.
the letters.
Good call.
Right, because you've got to put it in anyway.
I'd be willing to make a motion unless. somebody wants
Is there
to.
any more discussion?
Might have to give me a couple more.
He'll make,
minutes.
yeah, no, no.
I don't wanna jump the gun. This is more discussion. It's just take me a second here,
Yeah,
if you don't mind.
take your time.
I appreciate all the advertisement continuously repeating my name in public.
Oh. I never know. I think we have to
And I
read
have
it
your card
verbatim,
there,
right?
Matt Cummings, 87 Central Street, Ipswich, Mass.
Should have worn my name tag.
There you go. Should be looking for work. Just kidding.
I will mention it when we're off camera.
You made this little bump out here in the back a little more narrow. You might be able to put just enough to get a pickup truck into the backyard. Open that back door up. Because if, I know you need that, that's your pantry probably or something, or who knows?
It's our bathroom, it's the first floor
Ah.
bathroom.
It's the,
Because it'd be great to have like an 8-foot door right there and you could drive right through, or maybe nice old wood barn doors. Because then you can get your pickup truck.
The way the elevation is that we're 5 feet from the property line, but you can fit a pickup truck between that. Like I said,
I
there's
bet you
some,
can, yeah.
there's some,
You can
boxwoods
use
there,
mine.
but they're off the property line, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
could drive around there if you really needed to.
Good, yeah, that's great.
You think
But
I'm
yeah,
gonna do
that
it?
location, I mean, that's our half, that's the first floor bathroom.
Yeah, you gotta have that.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
it's the only closet on the first floor.
Yeah.
You have to make that downstairs bathroom wheelchair accessible now. No, I'm just kidding. But you know, like everyone in my family is now over 70, and they're all redoing their bathrooms downstairs,
Yep.
so that if they needed to live down the first floor, they could.
My wife's grandparents live in Winthrop, and they still don't have a bathroom. They're 90 years old, 85, 90 years old, and they don't have a bathroom on the first floor.
They still
Yeah.
upstairs.
They'll go upstairs. Maybe that's why they're
probably
still
why,
around, right?
yeah.
Yeah, if you run up the stairs.
Have to have an egress, it's like an egress. Cool. I'm trying to write over that map.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's just fine.
That's, see when you look at the denial section.
What are some of these we can skip for this time? For the business meeting?
Yeah, I'm gonna do the application and send it out. And it's my promise to you.
Mm-hmm.
The application, I'm gonna send it out and say,
No,
review
I
it.
wondered
Or-
if you wanna add a sentence in there about affordable, is this a accessory apartment, or, I don't know.
I don't think so.
No, so now there's
think we
a
talked to
30-day
John.
grace period
And see if
for
John
anyone
will just say,
pass. and
you need
once
to
that-
She'll read it at
go
the end.
see us.
They'll
Go
need to
see
read
them.
it. They always read it into the
Okay.
record, so you know.
Is there any conditions with this?
It's like certain days to the clerk. and-
We have to be. They should consult with them, but
Yeah.
they have to get permission from us before they can even get on.
Sorry, keep going. The
No, we're
plans,
chatting.
that you submitted, should this be granted tonight, are gonna be part of your permit.
Mhm.
So you can't make any substantial changes to them, so you guys are good with the,
Yeah,
and you've
you're
included
done.
the interior and everything else.
Yep,
Although,
interior layout.
quite honestly, minor changes to the interior aren't gonna bother anybody particularly. It doesn't affect anything on the outside, but the outside footprint and the outside structure and everything is shown here, if there's any substantial change, you know, you might wanna come back, and if it's better, the board could consider that, but basically, you know, you're just kinda setting this in stone,
Yep.
so just, you know, I'm sure you're already aware of that, but, especially this, once that's set, you don't wanna change your plot plan at all. You guys ready for a motion? I'll see if I can, might take more than one try here, cause it's chicken scratch, but, anyway, I move that the board find that the proposed, addition at 56 Andover Street would intensify the existing side setback of 2.1 feet where 15 feet is required. And, would intensify the existing the side setback nonconformity of 2.1 feet where 15 feet is required and create a new side setback nonconformity, but that the proposed change is not substantially more detrimental than the existing nonconforming structure to the neighborhood. I further move that the board grant a special permit per Georgetown zoning bylaws 165/89 and 94 to the applicant, the owner applicant of 56 Andover Street, LLC, Vanessa Triniello, is that right?
Yep.
Of 19 Eagle Street, Newburyport, Mass. 01950 for the property located at 56 Andover Street, Georgetown, Mass. Assessors Map 5A, Lot 15, the proposed addition and garage to the side and rear of the property as shown on the plans submitted and marked as exhibits A through E. I further move that the board find that the proposed addition meets the prerequisites of the Georgetown zoning bylaw, chapter 165/79A through D, specifically that the application is desirable to the public convenience or welfare, and will not overload any public water or municipal services so as to unduly subject any area to hazards affecting health, safety, or the general welfare, will not impair the integrity or character of the district or the adjoining districts, and will not cause an excess of that particular use, which could be detrimental to the character of the neighborhood.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Anybody?
No, I said enough.
Okay. Okay, then we just need to vote, and because there's only 4 of us here, Patty, we need
Unanimous.
unanimous vote. Roll call,
I vote yes.
Yes.
Yes,
and I vote yes as well.
there you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. Nice job.
All right.
Don't go yet, wait.
Okay, okay.
So there's a 20-day appeal period following 14 days. The clerk has to file a written decision with the town clerk. A person who exercises rights under an appealed special permit variance does so at risk, so wait for that. And then I'd like to close the hearing. I can't make a motion.
I move that we close the hearing for 56 Andover Street.
Second?
So moved. And then you're good.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Good luck, guys.
So we'll get a letter, or should I stop back down in the building department once the appeal period is passed?
The decision will be written within 14 days.
Yep.
And it has to be stamped by the town clerk, and I can just give you a call
Okay.
when
You
that's
got my
ready,
number.
and then that's when the appeal period starts after that town. So you got 14 days,
Yep.
and then
The 20
Yeah,
after
it's,
that.
Clerk and then 20 after that,
Yep.
so. I can give you a call,
Love to hear your voice,
if you wanna
Patty.
pick up, or mail it, it's up to you.
Yeah, just give me a call, and I'll shoot by and grab it.
Okay,
All right.
okay,
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
everyone.
Care.
Enjoy your evening.
Yep.
thank you.
It's a little snowy on the way.
Good
in.
luck.
Can't believe it. Snowy, 70,
Like a lot?
snowy,
Yeah, I know, right?
70.
It's a little warm out.
Taking anything else? No, that stays here.
Yeah, it's- Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
So I'd like to reopen the business meeting.
Did we close this hearing?
Yeah, you don't have to,
We did.
yes, we
We
did.
did, okay, yes, we did. Okay, hold on one second. I just wanna make sure I can read.
Good
Yeah.
luck with that.
Oh, Jeff, oh my God.
I'll go over it with you in a minute.
All right.
Do you wanna draft it right now, over here, or do you wanna? Take about, can we take about 60 seconds before
Sure.
this is?
Yeah.
Do you want me
Okay.
to?
Yeah,
Recess?
actually, can we just recess for 2
Like
minutes?
a 5-minute recess.
Yeah.
2 minute, 5 minute, 3 minute?
Just give us 5 so she can draft this properly, and then we
Alright,
don't have to.
5.
Is that right, Patty?
Yeah.
Should go.
That way we don't have.
Trish. Family.
What we were doing now, back to the old business, right, business meeting. So as far as the ZBA application revisions, Patty put this in there tonight. We talked a little bit about it. If we don't wanna deal with it tonight, I will make the changes that I suggested and send it out, and we need to vote on it at the next meeting. We have to have, everyone's gotta promise to look at it,
Okay.
if you don't wanna do it tonight. Do you wanna look through it quickly?
I'd rather we do it
Okay.
offline.
Okay, can you just make sure if you can pull, cause those got color copies in them. So if you could just pull that out and put it with your, you know what I mean, next hearing stuff.
You would need to read this if you're not gonna check your email.
So I don't waste paper and color ink, cause I need to get ink.
So this is.
Which
wow.
one am I reading, the green one or the pink one?
Both of them.
There's two, one's water resource, one's the
Oh.
regular application.
Okay. That was it for old business. Correspondence.
Now, you've made the changes to this already? You have? You have?
Me and Patty talked
Per
about it.
recommendations from you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Distribute new application, here we go. Oh, Sharon, I know Dave's gonna have to go to the station again.
What? Oh.
There's a few.
I jumped over that, but we're
Okay.
on to correspondence.
Okay,
Denial letter for
there's the denial letter for tonight,
Mr.
yeah.
Wilson.
And then I just in the mailbox,
fine.
and then the Dunkin' Donuts for next hearing, that's the application I just gave you.
Okay.
That is the 1,500 gallon septic,
Oh, this is a septic.
the water resource permit, they wanna up it to 4,600 gallons.
They insist on coming before us.
Yeah, Johnson didn't report out.
Yeah, all right.
They don't have to?
Technically,
Okay.
Yeah.
but they don't wanna take a risk.
Well,
you know.
safe than sorry, right?
And I just got these two in my mailbox, tonight when I come in. I was in 34 East Main Street, but the date is wrong, so I just sent John a quick email. Dated. And,
January 7th.
yeah. So that will be coming in. Then this is a letter just to Attorney Crona from the building inspector about 3 Farm Lane. And they need to go back to the planning, but if they don't wanna do that, they can file an appeal to us, which is what I'm hearing from the attorney that they may do. So if they don't wanna go back to the planning board and do what they were supposed to do, they didn't follow the planning board's 1999 permit. Cause they, I don't, I believe the previous building inspector had signed off on it, so they're saying they don't have to maybe, and they could, looks like they're gonna come to us to appeal the building inspector's this letter.
Where's the original letter? You're talking about 3
Farm Lane, yeah, I just got this tonight.
So in response to your letter dated, do we have a copy of that?
That was not in the mailbox.
Okay.
No, I can,
Well, I guess unless they come before us, it doesn't matter.
Is there a denial for Dunkin'
He
Donuts?
decides that they wanna come before the board of
Did you
health.
get one of those? Oh.
and I also
We don't-
have, yeah, and we have
Obviously.
another one coming, it's 100 Pond Street, which is the old 40B property. gonna be coming in too. Under general correspondence is an email from the town administrator for the new posting method that the Board of Selectmen approved, which is now with, I believe, I think it's with the Attorney General, and you'll see page 3 is, that's the new agenda format. That's why we started switching it around to get used to it. We don't have to use everything on there, it's just, so this is, instead of going down to the town clerk and posting a meeting, posting your agenda, you'll be able to do it by email, but it'll only, it'll be on the website, and it'll still be posted outside the building, but that won't be the official posting area will be the town website, but that has to go through and be approved, I believe, by the Attorney General. So that's what we're waiting for. Under new business, the revolving account, there's just the deposit, I think from the last time we met. We had the deposit for Andover and the deposit for January's hearing for East Main Street. And tonight, I just got an email from Mike Farrell, so this is just a quick printout of the budget submittal form. This is due December 22nd, we don't meet again. So basically, it's the last page on your agenda, very back page, I stapled, clipped it onto the back of the agenda. And I just got it. It looks like this.
The old budget's middle form.
There we go. Okay. So basically, we're doing FY16. Looks like they put in for, I don't know if that's a 1% increase. And then our 860, if you guys wanna leave that the way it is. We basically use the whole 860 and then we start taking out the revolving. Unless,
Should we put more in on the 860 are we
If we-
exceeding it every time?
we are,
It's gonna have to get approved by the.
but we'd have to,
Oh.
and then you gotta get it approved by the finance committee and then we have to,
I think it best
I mean,
leave it.
alone. and
yeah, I think for right now, we're going over it. It's
Revolving is covering it,
Right, okay.
more or less.
Yeah, because right now I think I have $120 left. That's gonna be spent on ink. So then, say, after February, everything else will come out of revolving, and all I really need is a Butters envelopes and some minor things that may come to another $100. Because I buy envelopes and labels. We don't buy the envelopes that have the return address on them. I do the labels myself. So, but I just need to know from you tonight if we're gonna leave this as is, so I can get it into Mike.
I would.
As is looks
recommend you leave
good.
it As is.
Yep, sounds good.
There won't be any feathers ruffled.
Okay?
I move that we approve the minutes, the business minutes and the hearing, business meeting minutes of 9/2/14, along with the hearing minutes for 4 Carlton Drive that were emailed on 10/27/2014.
Second?
Gina was absent.
Yeah, I need to abstain.
You still can call for a vote.
Oh, can we have a vote? Sharon?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes, I
Okay.
approve.
3 approves, 1 abstain. Okay.
And,
January 6th is our next meeting, huh?
yes, and that'll be Duncan. And right now, anything I take in will be February 3rd, which there might be 3 of them.
Alright, motion to close?
The new members, do you have to do anything about that?
Motion to adjourn the business meeting?
Adjourn?
Is adjourn now?
Oh,
Oh,
can we have a motion to adjourn the business meeting, please?
So moved. He still needs a
second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.